In 2014, 17-year-old Danta Wright was convicted of a fatal carjacking in Michigan. But it wasn't just the crime that left an impact. It was Wright's behavior during sentencing. As the victim's family shared their pain,
I've lost laughter and love. I no longer have the hope of having grandchildren. I've lost the enjoyment of holidays and birthdays and of everyday life.
Wright smirked and even laughed. When
Wright
given the
addressed the court
opportunity to
showing
speak,
no
he
remorse.
casually said, I don't have anything to say.
I just want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon, I love my family.
The judge, outraged, called his behavior appalling and sentenced him to life without parole. Wright's indifference became a haunting reminder of his lack of humanity.
Danta Wright was sentenced to 23 to 50 years for armed robbery, felony firearm, and second-degree murder of 18-year-old Jordan Clee.
In 2011, 16-year-old Nicholas Lindsay shot and killed St. Petersburg police officer David Crawford. What shocked the courtroom most wasn't just the crime, it was Lindsay's demeanor. Lindsay smirked and laughed during the trial, showing little regard for the seriousness of his actions. He claimed the shooting was an accident, but his behavior suggested otherwise. The judge sentenced him to life without parole, calling his actions and attitude a tragedy. For Officer Crawford's grieving family, Lindsay's lack of remorse was a painful reminder of their loss. In 2010, a young mother and her infant were killed during a robbery in Florida. The perpetrator, Showing Jackson, 17 years old. In court, Jackson shocked everyone with his cold indifference. He smirked as the victim's family shared their heartbreak and said, "What's done is done," when asked if he had anything to say. The judge condemned his behavior as reprehensible and sentenced him to life without parole. Jackson's lack of remorse turned an already devastating case into something even more chilling. In 2006, 18-year-old Dexter Johnson led a group responsible for the brutal murders of a young couple during a carjacking in Houston, Texas. In court, Johnson's behavior was nothing short of shocking. He laughed, joked with his attorneys, and remained emotionless, even during victim impact statements. The judge sentenced him to death, calling his indifference to human life horrifying. For the victims' families, Johnson's lack of remorse only deepened their pain. In 2013, 17-year-old Milton Watts killed a woman during an attempted robbery. But what made headlines wasn't just the crime, it was his behavior in court. Laughing and rolling his eyes, Watts even mocked the victim's grieving family, saying he didn't care about their loss. The judge sentenced him to life without parole, calling his actions inhumane. Watts' lack of remorse, one of the most recent and chilling cases, involves Aidan Fucci, who at just 14 years old murdered his 13-year-old classmate Tristan Bailey in 2021. Fucci shocked the public with his behavior after his arrest. He laughed, joked, and even took selfies in the back of a police car. His indifference continued in court, where his lack of remorse was clear. When sentencing him to life in prison, the judge described his crime as heinous and senseless. Fucci's callous attitude remains one of the most chilling aspects of this case. In 2019, Damon Kemp, 19 years old, was convicted of murdering his roommate at a college in Florida. The crime was brutal, but Kemp's reaction in court shocked everyone. As the victim's family gave emotional impact statements, Kemp smirked and refused to make eye contact. He never expressed regret, and his cold demeanor left the courtroom silent. The judge sentenced Kemp to life without parole, describing his lack of remorse as deeply troubling. In 2015, 21-year-old Dylan Roof carried out a racially motivated mass shooting, killing 9 people at a church in Charleston, South Carolina. Roof's trial was marked by his unapologetic and defiant attitude. He showed no remorse, even as survivors and victims' families shared their grief. Roof himself stated he had no regrets and would do it again. The judge sentenced Roof to death, condemning his hateful actions and shocking lack of humanity. His behavior in court remains one of the most infamous examples of unrepentant evil.